This city gets around 3 feet of snow every year. Sounds too cold for some people, but you don't have to live there to love it. Come with us to Chicago.
You're listening to Travel FOMO, a podcast for people self-diagnosed with wanderlust.
Welcome to the Travel FOMO podcast. I'm Jamin Houghton, and I'm here with my co-host and wife, Hillary.
Hello, guys.
And we're in the middle of our Cities in the States season.
Yeah, and in case you missed it, we talked about New Orleans last week, so be sure to check it out. And this week we are headed straight north to Chicago.
That's right. And as we do, take a minute to subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you're listening to make sure you catch all the episodes as they release.
Yeah, that's right. Man, back in the day, Chicago, it was named the Windy City, right? Mm-hmm. Which, you know, we're from Oklahoma. So that always blew our mind because we were like, what? No place could be windier than Oklahoma?
Kind of have a few windy cities in Oklahoma.
We sure do. But ironically, it wasn't really because Chicago is that windy or even that it's that cold. It's actually because of the politics, right?
Yes, yeah. It goes back to the politicians from Chicago and then being basically full of hot air. And so it was known as the Windy City because of the politicians like way back in the day.
I think that's really interesting. But it is windy. And it is cold because the wind whips around those buildings downtown.
Yes.
And it gets very cold. But it kind of gets a bad rap for how cold it is. Although I will say, we looked it up, and the average low temperature is an average of 16 degrees Fahrenheit, which is very cold for us.
Yeah. When it gets cold there, it gets really cold.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I want to live in a place where if I get locked outside, I could die.
Oh, right.
So... but it definitely gets Arctic there, but still a great city, an awesome place to visit, especially in the spring.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, we've actually talked about how we would never, we considered living there.
Yeah, we did look at it for a while.
And we actually kind of got to the point where we're like, yeah, we don't know that we could handle the winters. But you don't have to live there to love it. And that is what we have discovered. It's really the perfect combination of so many things. You've got the city, the beach. You do get to experience all the seasons. And I do love that about Chicago.
Yeah, and between the two of us, we spent quite a bit of time there.
Yeah.
Stayed kind of in a lot of great places, all of them sort of downtown. Mm-hmm. Every time we've been, we've stayed at like the Wit by Doubletree. The River Hotel was really cool. We stayed there one time. Swiss Hotel Chicago, Radisson Blue Aqua, Fairmont Chicago.
Yeah.
All of those places kind of downtown inside that, like I think they call it the Loop. So a bunch of great places to stay. All of them were really cool in and of their own rights. Let's just get into it. Why do you love Chicago?
Oh, man. For those of you who heard me talk about Vegas, I have a similar thing about Chicago. I love the shopping.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. The shopping is so good. And I thought Vegas was great, but I think Chicago gives it a run for its money. There's Michigan Avenue and Rush Street. And they have some great shopping, some of my favorite places to go. Actually, I want to give a shout out to one of my coworkers because I've been to Chicago a lot for work. And every so often, you know, would stay a little bit and hang out with some colleagues, or you would come up and join me sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I want to give a shout out to Teresa Ferguson because we did some serious shopping while we were in Chicago together. And we found me this legit black coat that I still adore. I love it so much. And then we found her this fabulous dress. And I'm going to say, I want to give her a shout out because she bought the dress several sizes smaller than she actually was at the time. But it was her goal to wear that dress.
Oh, cool.
So cool. And she's one of the only people I've ever seen actually do that.
Wow. So she made it like she got down to the size that she wanted to be.
Yeah. She actually wore the dress to work later on. And I got to see her in that fabulous dress. So it was great. We hit up so many places. We went to Tiffany's and Zara. There's a Saks Fifth Avenue, H&M, a Top Shop, which I just had a lot of fun in some of those stores. Burberry, Louis Vuitton. I mean, you can just, dream it and do it. It's amazing.
Buy it.
Right. And then it's even more fun to pair all that shopping with drinking.
Yes.
Which you and I did that one day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a lot of fun because we basically decided we were going to go bar hopping and shopping.
Yeah.
And we did. We would like go up Rush Street and because there's lots of cool bars, I felt like, on Rush Street. And I believe Haley Burks now, that's her last name. She was actually the person who told me that and loved it. We got to like hit up bars and then go shop and then hit up another bar and go shop. And it was just really fun, lazy day of, wandering the streets.
Yeah, that was a great day. And like you said, we would just like go into a couple shops and then like go to a bar and have a beer and then on to the next place. And we just rinse, repeat. Like it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. I think we hit up some places. There are two that I remember. Rosebud on Rush and Pipkin's Tavern were two that really kind of stuck out to me. And but there are a lot of great bars in Chicago.
Yeah, tons.
So many. And I've enjoyed some really great dive bars with a couple other coworkers. Casey Sharp, Liz Highland, Edward Renteria. I've had some great moments. They've taken me some places that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I don't remember the names of any of those places, but they were awesome. It was good.
That's cool. And there is a ton of places like that. I feel like there are just so many great spots.
Yeah, so many. But you, what about you? What's some of the things that you love about Chicago?
One of the things that I really love about Chicago is the sports. Like, it's a sports city. They're True. Big into their teams there, and they just like place a lot of emphasis on it. It's really cool because everybody gets fired up about it. Some places have sports teams, but not everybody's into it. And I feel like they're like the majority of the people are into it. They're big Bears fans, they're big Bulls fans, and they know what's going on. And they've got their two baseball teams, the White Sox and the Cubs, and they love their baseball. And that's cool to be around. It's a lot of fun. We actually went to a Cubs game.
Oh my gosh!
While we were there,
you're gonna tell this story?
Yeah, I think that people have to know. So we went up, and I had never been to a Cubs game, never been to Wrigley Field, and we went and did the whole like Wrigleyville thing. And went to a Cubs game. We bought tickets. And I remember we went in and we like go up to our seats. And do you remember there was like a pillar in between our seats? Do you remember that? And so like...
It wasn't ideal.
Yeah. So we're sitting there, the pillar in between the seats. And the game got started and we realized there's some open seats around. So we kind of moved to where we could sit next to each other. And it was like early May. So the weather was great in Chicago.
Even a little warm.
Yeah, it was like just a little warm, but we got a cool picture out in front of Wrigley Stadium.
Yeah.
Or like we'll post that or something. But then like you started getting bored.
Yeah, baseball's long.
Yeah.
Baseball games are long. I was not the best sport.
Yeah, so
ironically.
So baseball games are 9 innings, and you made it through 3 innings.
I made it longer than that.
I think it was the 3rd or the 4th inning when
I started getting
when
a
you were kind
itchy.
of grumbly. And then by like the 5th inning, you were like, well, can we go?
Are we done yet?
Yeah. And you asked it in a way that I knew, like, you weren't saying, can we go? You're saying,
it's time to go.
Yeah, we go now. And so, like, I did a quick calculation in my mind of, like, is the rest of this game worth the rest of my day? And so then we left.
Oh, that is truly how it went down. Oh, man, yeah. Like, those are the kind of stories that you're like, you don't want to think that you're that person when you travel, but then sometimes, you reflect back on things and you're like, wow, I was that person that I could have made that trip a little bit better for somebody and I didn't. And ironically, now because of work, I've been to like 3 Chicago Cubs games.
Right.
That was the only one you ever went to. And I was like, let's go. Probably because I'd seen so many coworkers peace out early. And so I was like, we're not staying with the whole game, right? Like,
Right.
Let's go. And that wasn't really fair for you. I always keep wanting to make it up to you. Like maybe we'll go to like a a Boston Red Sox game or something. And
Yeah, we'll figure
make it up to you. One
we'll
day.
figure something out. But it was still a lot of fun to go to see the stadium, to see the team, and like the whole Wrigleyville thing. Even if you couldn't get tickets to a game, which like they're not crazy hard tickets to get. It's baseball, so
Right.
like most of the time you can get in. But even if you couldn't go to the game, like the whole Wrigleyville thing is really cool.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, such a
Like-
lively, fun experience. So many great eateries all the way around.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and we went to that spot, Lucky's Sandwich Shop. I don't know if you remember us going there, but like
pretty cool.
the sandwiches were awesome. So if you're in Wrigleyville, definitely hit that spot up. But
It's great
you know,
stuff.
we popped in and out of a couple places before the game started. The train dropped us off like right where we needed to be, and there are bars and things like that where the roof of the bar actually has seating in it that is like stadium seating because it's up high enough that it looks down into the stadium.
Yeah.
And so there are a lot of people that buy tickets to go to these bars and watch the game live, like
Yeah.
from the bar, which is really cool too.
So fun. That was actually how some of my coworkers and I ended up seeing it. Is all of us had tickets to, you know, they kind of buy out some seats for us in a local restaurant, and we all go downstairs and eat, and then we bring our food up to the top and sit in the bleachers and get to watch it. Just, it felt like we literally had tickets to the movie or to the game.
Yeah. But it really is awesome. And the neighborhoods around there are great. I remember we had gotten there a little early, and so we walked around some of the neighborhoods, and just a really cool part of the city. A great experience. Even if you're not a huge baseball fan, go check Wrigleyville out. It's kind of fun to be in an atmosphere where everybody's got their gear on, everybody's got their Cubs shirts on and their Cubs hats on, and they're all hanging out in these bars and getting ready for the game and all that stuff. Like it's a lot of fun. It's worth going to check out. So like the sports, they're cool. Also the sports style food in Chicago is great. They have the classic Chicago style hot dogs and those kinds of things that you can get into, and sandwiches. Like they're big into sandwiches with a lot of meat on them, which if you're like me, that's awesome. So check those out. And the pizza.
Oh, the pizza.
Yeah, Chicago style pizza, the really deep dish, thick pizza, which if you haven't ever had it, know that it takes a long time to bake because it is so thick. It's literally like 2.5, 3 inches thick piece of pizza. Know that you can eat 1, maybe 2 slices, and that it's going to take a long time for it to cook. But it is phenomenal. It's just so much cheese and just really good. And we went, and we had heard like the argument about, I think it's Giordano's or Gino's East, and which is better, and depends on who you talk to. You'll get recommendations like, oh no, you gotta go this one, gotta go that one. So we did both while we were there. We tried them both out, and they're both just really good.
We might actually, if we're really confessing, we might actually let people know that we basically try them out both every time we're there.
Well, I mean, I think to really get to the bottom of it,
You
to
gotta
do
keep
justice,
sampling.
yeah, we're just continuing on that
Exactly.
journey of getting to the bottom of it. I feel like we just haven't done quite enough research yet. So next
Too
time we
close to
go,
call.
we're gonna have to do it again. But Giordano's is a little more traditional. They've got the red and white checkered like table decorations
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Gino's East was really cool. I don't know if you remember, that's where they did like the writing on the wall, like everyone signs the wall, and so there's just
That's cool.
autographs all over the wall of like everybody that's been there. It's really cool. So check them out. They both have a few locations, but kind of do your research and figure out which one you want to go to, and it's really great. We also went to the Billy Goat Tavern,
Yeah.
which is this kind of dive bar, but there's an old SNL skit about like the Bears fans with like Chris Farley and all of them, and it's based on like this Billy Goat Tavern in Chicago, and we
really
went there.
Cool. It's underground too.
Yeah.
It was a little hard to find.
It was hard to find.
It definitely felt like a dive. And
Yeah.
I didn't see anybody else in there that was like very touristy. It felt like, oh, are we sure this is the right place?
Yeah, that was one that I really wanted to go to and find, but it was really cool.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it's just bar food and Chicago style beer and stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
I feel like Chicago has so many of those kinds of places. Like, it's great.
We want to break in to tell you about something that you need to remember no matter what kind of trip you're on. Water. Being hydrated will help you enjoy the journey no matter what kind of adventure you're on, but it's so easy to forget. So set a goal for yourself and start early. A couple glasses of water before you start your day will help you get over that lag and into your experience. What do you want to share to help make travel better? Contact us so we can promote it here.
There are so many good places for fine dining.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Like, you could do some really legit fine dining. And another shout out, I have to give a shout out to Lauren Cusick. Lauren was always so fabulous. She hosted, I would say, basically hosted several work events that we did up in Chicago, and she showed me just how fabulous fine dining can be in Chicago. We did Three Forks Steakhouse, which you and I actually went there together too. I think for like an anniversary or something.
I think
special.
that's right. Yeah.
And then Sienna Tavern was another good one. You and I also got some amazing cocktails at State and Lake, which
that place was great.
Place.
Yeah.
And then and this isn't exactly fine dining, but it's breakfast dining, which is fine, so fine. But Wildberry Pancakes and Cafe was such a good one. Oh my goodness. It's right next to our office there, and so that is like so fun to get to hit that place up. But yeah, so many great things to do. What would you say to people if people are wondering what to do in Chicago? So we talked about food. Obviously, you're going to eat some great meals while you're there, see some sports and stuff like that. What other activities would you recommend for people?
Well, once you're done shopping and eating and taking in the sports, there's also like a lot of things that Chicago offers that are kind of unique to it. Navy Pier is one that you can go check out. There's
and it's right there on like the Great Lake too.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah. On like, I think it's like Michigan, right?
Yeah.
And so it goes out over the lake, and there's all the boats and everything like that. We actually went in a stained glass museum out on Navy Pier.
Oh, we did.
And
Good
it was
memory.
Yeah, it was so cool. They had stained glass pieces, like windows that had been taken from different places, different churches, things like that, and they had them all on display there. And it was really cool. Like, it was great
cool.
to see. But they've got a Ferris wheel out there and restaurants, things like that. So it's kind of a whole scene. The Chicago Riverwalk is really cool. The huge river that runs through Chicago is great and kind of a focal point. On St. Patrick's Day, they dye it green. I've never been on St. Patrick's Day,
That'd
but
be fun, though.
it looks awesome.
Yeah, and the Riverwalk, one thing that comes to mind for me was this. I have like this vivid memory of being on the Riverwalk and looking at some of the yachts that were in the river and being like, holy cow, like that's a yacht in the middle of Chicago.
Right.
And then like you see like these like young girls like sunbathing on their yacht, and you're like, oh my gosh, that is so crazy. Like, I am so far removed from that world. But it was like just such a surreal, it's such a surreal thing to think like, oh yeah, people could technically bring their yachts into the middle of Chicago.
Yeah, it really is wild, the whole river thing, and they've got the bridges that go across the river that raise up so that ships can go through. That's kind of its own unique kind of cool thing. Millennium Park in the middle of downtown is phenomenal. Huge park. It's got like the Bean, I'm sure everyone has seen, pictures of, like, that's the Chicago picture, right? Your picture in
Right.
front of the bean, the big reflective cloud thing. The Great Lawn, the Buckingham Fountain is huge there. It's all worth going. I think we actually ran in Chicago once and ran Millennium Park and around
Yeah.
that fountain and stuff. Like, that was
was
really
fun.
cool. A great way to kind of see it because it is so big. You running it, you get to kind of cover more ground, but
Yeah.
it was really cool. The beach there on Lake Michigan.
That looked so fun. I was like, we are definitely coming back in the summer and we are going to like hang out on the beach.
Yeah, which again is really cool. And Lake Michigan's so huge, it looks more like an ocean than a lake. And so you're out on this beach. It's just
Right
great.
at the end of Michigan Avenue, it just goes straight up, right? And just right at the very tip of it, it like hits beach, basically.
I think you're right.
Which
Yeah.
is so crazy. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then museums. There's stuff like Second City Comedy Club, which is where a lot of the SNL cast kind of came through on their way up. Just so much great stuff to check out and see. And Chicago's not like pretentious. I feel like everybody's just down to have a good time and be cool, and it makes for great vibes.
Yeah. And there's also that you can see shows there, which I forget.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my colleagues saw Hamilton there in that old Chicago theater.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
all the vertical letters up along, the side of the street and everything. It's just as soon as you see the sign, you're like, oh, I'm definitely in Chicago. I need to take a photo, in front of the sign. But yeah. And there's other really interesting things you can do. There's some fun stuff we did with work where we went to the Chicago Athletic Association, and you can like rent out rooms, which is, by the way, brilliant to do in the peak of winter when it's so cold and you're looking for something fun to do besides just sitting around at a bar or a restaurant. So we went to the Chicago Athletic Association, and you could play virtual golf and all kinds of other, fun activities, which
cool.
that was pretty cool. And then the boat tours are actually pretty cool. I've been on a couple different ones, some swanky ones, some ones with dinner, some ones with bands playing, and then one that was just like in the middle of the day, beautiful, gorgeous day. And it's just this great tour where they point out all the different buildings to you, and you kind of
So how big are the boats?
I mean, it varies, but the ones I've been on have mostly been like several stories. And so you might have like a dining hall on one floor where everyone comes down for dinner at the end of the night, and then the rooftop area where everyone has some cocktails and they get to they've got full view of the sky so they can see the skyline and all the different buildings that are being pointed out to them. And Chicago, I mean, there's an amazing history there. So there's so many buildings that, you look and you go, oh, that's beautiful. But then when you know more about it, it's way even more interesting. And so that's been some highlights. And those were for work, so I don't actually know the price tag on those. So I can't say if it was worth it from like a dollar perspective, but it was definitely seemed like it would be worth someone's time for sure.
So much to do in Chicago. It's really great. And those are the things that we've done on the times that we've been. But if you haven't been, go check it out. You will find a reason why you love Chicago. And once you do and you find it, share it with us. We want to know about it.
Absolutely. You can do that on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. That's where you'll find us. And you can give us your tips or your stories or share your photos. And then we'll also be posting some of our own photos there from our times in Chicago.
Absolutely.
So that'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you did enjoy today's episode, do us a quick favor, rate, review, and subscribe to the Travel FOMO podcast from wherever you're listening. Tell some people about it. Help us get the word out. You can also learn more about us at travelfomopodcast.com and tune into our next adventure in Austin, Texas, where we tell you why it's so weird and why it should stay that way.
Love Austin. Oh my gosh, everyone's going to love Austin. So great. Well, just keep in mind, guys, that life is short.
Wander well.